Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. Of course, many of you have not seen my other channels, so you probably haven't seen me talk about this movie yet. I may have mentioned it briefly in one of my other videos where I've come back recently, but I thought I would go ahead and get a review, a new one recorded singular without reviewing the whole series yet for this channel, and just go ahead and get you an opinion about this movie that I don't ever want to watch again. I hated it so much. The Exorcist Believer is a 2023 horror film directed and kind of co-written with three other people by David Gordon Green, who did Halloween, the trilogy for Blumhouse. Halloween, Halloween Kills, Halloween Ends, and Halloween Ends was so damn bad in 2022 that everybody was saying how bad this was going to be. And that includes me. As soon as Halloween Ends came out, I said Exorcist is doomed. They immediately came out as a studio saying we wanted to make a new trilogy of requels, which is really a quadrilogy if you're ignoring every sequel but the original movie. That's a quadrilogy. Stop doing that. And even at this current point, David Gordon Green was announced about 2 or 3 weeks ago to be completely leaving the project. Not being fired, leaving the project. Yeah, whatever. So as soon as the trailer came out for this movie, I said it's going to be fucking bad. I had a lot of people in my life, like my mom, who were determined to tell me this was going to be good. Maybe it'd be a sleeper hit. No. Absolutely not. One of my favorite horror writers out there, Scott Teems, is also involved with this too as a screenwriter, and that was a shame because Scott Teems is really good. This is a bad movie. Dude, I'm not a big Exorcist fan, let me be honest with you. I have a couple of the books over here, Legion and the original William Peter Blatty book. Both are written by Blatty, but you know what I mean. I haven't read them yet. I've always heard they're classics, but I've always loved the third movie of the franchise. I saw it maybe 2 times in my life, and I've always thought it was absolutely, without doubt, the best of the franchise. The original film from William Friedkin, I thought it was pretty good. I've never been a hardcore fan of that movie. I don't think it's really the scariest thing ever. But to be fair, I never actually watched that movie by myself in the dark at nighttime, so maybe that's part of it too. I don't know. Never saw Exorcist 2. I saw one of the versions of Part 4, so this is the 5th movie of the franchise, I believe. There's also a TV show I watched the first season of, and the finale of season 1 was so rough that I just kind of was like, fuck this. Just was ready to quit. But decent show, in case you'd like to check it out. Never going to watch season 2. It's been too long since I finished season 1, so I probably won't review that anytime soon. But just, you know, a heads up in case you care. Dude, what is Exorcist Believer about? I guess I'll go ahead and get the plot out of the way. There are 2 separate families who have their daughters who are friends. And the 2 friends happen to wander off in the woods. They mess around with some kind of weird game that they play that is kind of demonic. Not a Ouija board this time, but something similar to that kind of thing, or like the Charlie Charlie game from when I was a kid. And they go missing for 3 days, and when they come back, they're very strange, bestial. They do a lot of tests on the kids at the hospital. Everything seems like it's good, but the kids are still very unnerving in the way they're acting. Very, very weird. And then they begin to act worse and worse, to the point where you begin to suspect, and so do the families, with one of them not even being a religious family, that these kids may be possessed. They also happen to somehow, some way, bring in the mom from the original movie, the original actress and everything, who's been retired for like 25 years or something. Chris McNeil, I think is her name. She comes back in this, same character, and she's like into this kind of priestess, all religions can do exorcisms, new age shit. And she comes in trying to see if the daughters are actually possessed, but meanwhile she's also been looking for her daughter Reagan, Linda Blair's character from the original film, the possessed little girl, and she hasn't seen her or talked to her in a long time because they kind of change up what happened between those two after the original movie happened. I thought that stuff was kind of cool, but we didn't need Chris McNeil in this film. We just didn't. Maybe they were going to do more with her in the trilogy of films. I don't know. I don't think it's ever going to come out, but you know, they claim they are. Or were, I guess. In this movie, it's trying to have basically a straight out, not so much a requel like Halloween 2018 was, tied to the original Halloween in a cool way. It's not doing that. It's basically a remake of The Exorcist, but this time there's 2 little girls possessed, and the makeup looks goofy as hell on one of them. This movie did not have bad performances when it came to the main family members. Like I said, you have the one household who are Christian or Catholic or whatever. I think they're just straight out Protestant Christians. And the other family being non-religious. That stuff was kind of, you know, a cool concept. I didn't hate it. Thought they could have done a lot more with it in an hour and 50 minutes of boring ass shit. This movie was boring as hell. Nothing happens most of the time. Nothing scary, nothing weird or eerie. There was one scene involving Chris McNeil's character that made me cringe quite a bit in a good way because of how horrific something was. But aside from that, I don't have anything else to really tell you about. The film is beautifully shot. David Gordon Green is a music video type of director, in my opinion. He can do some incredible work. He did incredibly well in the Halloween films, aside from Ends, but Ends' direction was good. Its shots were good. The setting and locations were good. But it was everything else. Coming to this movie, The Exorcist Believer, it's beautifully shot, and that's about it. It doesn't really have any content. In an hour and 50 minutes, what the fuck were Blumhouse thinking, dude? I don't understand what the hell they were thinking. Even to have this proposed before the failure of Halloween Ends, I don't understand how they thought this was a good idea in general. I know there's this principle in Hollywood of making a movie for the audience and making one for you amongst the studios and the directors and kind of how they work out their deals. I understand that. But this was truly, in concept, a horrible idea, whether it was being a requel or a straight-out remake of The Exorcist. This was bad, all around bad, and personally, I don't think Chris McNeil will ever come back to do more, and I don't blame her. But she was bad here, too. Her whole character was annoying. There's this rant she goes on about the original movie's events and the patriarchy. What the fuck are you talking about? Dude, it's the most wacko, tone-deaf shit I've ever heard in my life, and it's, to me, personally, and I'm not even a big fan of the original film or William Peter Blatty's book because I haven't read the book, but I love William Peter Blatty because of his directing on Part 3. It feels disrespectful to William Peter Blatty and the original Exorcist book and the original movie from William Friedkin. It feels insulting to everybody who loves that original film, and that doesn't include me. But that's what it feels like, you know? It feels like a total smack in the face of like, well, how dare you think this is a good concept because of sexism at the time. It was such a weird way to go with this movie, dude. And again, it's just a small moment in this boring fest of 2 hours of shit, but it was just enough to annoy me, you know, after being bored to tears, wanting to figure out which railroad train tracks I wanted to go lay over while I watched this shit so I could end it for myself. But that was the one moment where I was like, that's truly something you could have chopped out to save us some time. A good 3 minutes of time from this boring-ass piece of shit movie. Anyway, practical effects, CGI, all of that, none of it impressed me. There's one particular scene involving one of the girls in her bed, and some CGI, it was goofy as hell. There's nothing really clever happening in like the background shots or anything. I expected that more out of David Gordon Green because of how clever he was with the first 2 Halloween films. There's nothing like that. It's not like you're seeing like some silhouette in the background of a shot or something that no one mentions, no one looks at, no character sees, no jump scare is done. Nothing like that happened in this movie, which to me was a horrible missed opportunity. I feel like Lee Winnell should have made this movie, if he was going to make one, but Lee Winnell wouldn't do that to begin with. But if he was, I think Lee Winnell should have made this movie, and he would have made it damn better than what David Gordon Green did with this. As much as I, again, respect David Gordon Green because he knows how to make a good movie. But this is not it. He should not be involved with writing these shits anymore. I don't know how the fuck Scott Teems got brought into this. I feel horrible for the guy. He deserves better. He's too good of a writer to have to deal with stupid shit like this. But here we are. Even down to not having many practical effects. That just all of that, dude, just culminated into such a bad film. And even like characters like this one random Catholic priest in here, he's just not as important as he should be by the end of the movie. You know, the film missed every opportunity that it absolutely needed to take. It just fails constantly. And even the utilization of the theme song from The Exorcist is not used in a way that's really effective, which shocked the hell out of me. There's so many moments in here that should have had that song playing, and it just doesn't, and it fails constantly. I know the film doesn't want to rely on it, but the original film did, so why not? You know what I mean? It's a requel. Why not? Why not bring back those emotions that creepy-ass song gives us, but then put out a trailer for a bad movie that mimics the original kind of hidden, scary-ass trailers for The Exorcist that were in black and white? It doesn't make any sense. They knew this movie was bad as hell, and they knew that it was going to suck. Just everybody involved knew that. I don't care what anybody says, they knew. Anyway, Exorcist Believer is horrible. I don't know if I would say it's the worst of the series. Again, I've never seen part 2, but I've seen enough about it to know that it's probably going to be the worst. But the one part 4 movie that I did see was so bad that, like, I don't think I could sit through that again, but I would do it for you guys. I would do it for you guys eventually when I review the Exorcist films for the channel, but I don't think I could sit through this again. I don't think my nerves could handle it again because of how high it raised my blood pressure out of just being annoyed. You know, if I had to rate The Exorcist Believer on a 5-star basis, this fucking piece of crap would get like a 2 out of 5 stars for me because it's pretty, and that's about it. And I liked the kind of general setup for the film, the concept, the 2 girls being possessed. Again, basically just a remake, but I liked the family aspects of that. It could have been very, very well done, and it absolutely was not. Even by the ending of it, I think the ending is done for shock value, but it's not even a good shocking, you know? The movie sucks. I don't know. I don't think I've met one person who liked this movie or even thought it was just straight out average or decent. I haven't met one. In real life, I mean. Not on the internet where everybody's a fucking optimist and likes everything. Not that. I mean in real life. People that I've talked to, horror fans that I've talked to, I haven't met a single person who's defended or liked this movie. Not one. So, anyway, I think that speaks volumes too, because I do know quite a few people who like horror. Anyway, when it comes to Exorcist Believer, 2 out of 5 stars. There is no defense for this film for me. I think it's just awful, and I almost wanted to give it a 1 out of 5, but I just thought there was too much I admired, like the remake of the theme song, the views, the shots, the concept setup, that were good enough to start off the movie in a well-made way, and it fumbled the ball so bad. And I would love to hear down in the comment section down below what you think about the film. If you're a big Exorcist fan, I'd love to hear everything you have to say about it too. But again, do you feel that disrespect that I felt? I'm not even a fan of the franchise that much, and I felt that. I felt the slap in the face with the weird Chris McNeil shit in the movie. She deserved better too. But she reminds me of like a Jamie Lee Curtis type, in my opinion, that would always think that she's better than the stuff that made her popular. Same thing with like Sigourney Weaver, you know? Like, they just all strike me as that type with their personas. Chris McNeil is no different. Anyway, what did you think about the film? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments about it and my review down in the comments section down below. Let me know everything, guys. Thank you all for watching. God bless you all, and goodbye.